Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Soulpreneur Scaling Stories. And today we have a role reversal. So I am here with Christina Schreiner, who is my virtual assistant, and she is going to interview me about my scaling story. So we thought it would be a fun little thing. So take it away, Christina. Also say hi.
Yay! Hello, everyone. How exciting. So today we have Andrea, Soulful Scaling Strategist, joining us to share her scaling story with us. Welcome and thank you for joining us. So Andrea, let's get started. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your business and what it looks like today.
So first of all, you're gonna steal my job because you're doing excellent at hosting. I like being on this side of things. It's kind of fun. So yes, I am a scaling strategist and business coach. I also am a certified online business manager. So today I have two sides of my business. So a lot of you guys here know me as a business coach and all the scaling things. And my dog is excited. Zeus, are you excited that that's what I am? Okay, now he's happy. So I am. So a lot of you guys know me as a business coach and scaling strategist working with soulful service providers, helping them to scale their businesses so that way they can live their dream lives. And in addition to that, I also help 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs scale as well. And I do that through my OBM, Online Business Manager partnership that I have with another certified online business manager. We have a small team and we do all of the things from on the back end, from the systems and processes to the strategy and the team management and the launches and all that good stuff for these 6 and 7 figure businesses. My role in there is really focused on the business strategy. So that is what I'm doing today.
Excellent. That's a lot of things that you're doing. Just want to
Well,
throw that in.
Well, do you know? So it's funny you say that because it is a lot of things that I'm doing. And I'm so multi-passionate that if I was just doing one thing, it just doesn't suit me. I get bored. I want to learn the things. Like I love having different things to do. So in this way, I really created a business that supports passion. So I could choose to do one or the other, right? Like I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because it is more work and it makes things more complicated, but I love doing it. So really I created that business too because that's what I wanted to do. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody because it's a lot, but it fits me. So it's a really good point that you made.
Definitely. So tell us what your business looked like when you started your entrepreneurial journey.
So very, very different from what it is now. I started in 2019. And even before that, in 2018, I think I've always had the thought of, oh, I want to be location independent. I want to have this freedom. I don't know what it looks like. And in 2018, I was like, oh, maybe I could be a life coach or, do something like that because I have this background in clinical psychology and therapy and all of this. And I was like, I have no idea how to be a life coach. I don't know. Like, how do you even do that? Right. So I said, okay, I went back and did my normal person working thing. And in 2019, I was like, okay, that's it. Like, no more. Like, this lifestyle is not for me. And I was searching all corners of the internet, like, what can I do that I can do from my laptop that I can still help people? And I found this virtual assistant thing. And I thought, you know what? This is a really good way for me to both get out of my 9 to 5, have this freedom, and learn about all these other businesses and learn a lot of things from helping other people run their businesses so then I can figure out what I want to do. So in 2019, I did a course and I became a virtual assistant, general virtual assistant. I will do all the things and learning along the way. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the online business space. And so I did that. I had a goal. I quit my job in 5 months, replaced my income, and then we took off from there.
Some love that story. I know I've heard it before, but I love hearing it again. So just to continue with that, tell us about your journey from where you started to where you are now.
So here's where the fun starts because I was getting all of these clients, right? Like this wasn't a problem. I was like, okay, I'm doing all my general VA thing. The clients are coming. And then they kept coming. And I was like, okay, I'm getting more clients. So I guess I should hire some help so I can serve these clients. So I started doing that. I think I eventually had a team of like 4 or 5 people and like 15, 20 clients. I don't even know, like all these clients. And then all of a sudden I had this general VA agency. Why did I have this general VA agency? I didn't decide this, right? Like this wasn't like a thing that I wanted to do. This wasn't a goal. It literally just happened. And then I was like, wait, I don't want this. Like, this is not like, it didn't bring me joy. It was just like a thing that just like happened because my business was leading me. So I took a step back and I was like, okay, what do I actually want to do instead? And what really resonates with me is not the quantity, it's the quality. I wanted to go deeper and higher level. So that's when I discovered this online business manager certification program. And I did that like less than a year after starting my business. There was no more agency. I said, okay, let me go into this role. And so that's what I did then. So I stepped into this OBM role, working with one-on-one monthly retainer clients and all sorts of business structures, did all the things. So transitioning from VA to VA agency to OBM. So that's like phase one of my growth. And so I was like, okay, this is great. This is much better, right? But it still wasn't like jiving completely. And it took a little bit more time to get the experience and like really dive in deep to figure out like what is. And that's like the next journey. But I feel like I'm talking a lot. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about going on.
You know what I loved what you said, that I feel like it really resonates, I think, with me as like a service-based provider as well, is like you were letting the business lead you
Yeah.
versus like the other way around. I think that's what's really cool about the space that we work in. It's like we can call the shots and we can do all of the things. And it's like super empowering. And it's, I don't know, it's just really fun to be able to be like in the online space like we are
Mm,
and how you are, wearing all of these different hats and keeping it really like fresh every day with doing all the things that you're doing. And I think for people, sometimes people don't know where to begin. And like, I think you're the perfect example of like, I started from here, I went here, I didn't really love here. Then I
mm.
went here, I loved it a little bit more. And then all these years later, now doing all of the things that you're doing, like, I think it's just really cool. And I think people are going to really appreciate your story. And I think it'll really motivate people because I really do. I think that like people don't know where to begin, and
Mm, mm.
it's just super inspiring. So I just wanted to throw that in. But I really like the whole thing about like you leading the business and not the business leading you. And I think
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, as soulpreneurs, like we need to remember that that's like we're in charge. Like this is our business. This is, what we're doing. And we want to love what we're doing. And if we're not, then we need to take a step back and reevaluate what we're doing.
And
So I
yeah,
love
that's the important piece, right? Is the reevaluation piece. And that actually, like the first piece of anything is recognizing and being like, wait, like I'm doing this. Is this what I actually want to be doing? Because like you said, there's like it's limitless. You can do anything, which can be scary, right? And this is exactly why when I started, I just said, let me start and figure it out from there. Because otherwise you could research for years on end and until you start doing it, you have no idea. So it's like two pieces on that, right? It's like start, try it out, try all the things, and see what really feels good and resonates to you and like where you feel like your magic is at. And then you get to refine from there. So let me continue because then we get juicier on the
love
business
it.
journey. Uh,
I love it.
so So, so the kind of like first scaling up of my business, I burned it to the ground and started over, right? Like I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm doing something more up level, totally different. And then I'm doing this. Okay, I like this, right? Like, I like the OBM thing. There's parts of it that I like better than others. And then I was like, you know what? But I really miss like diving deep. And I was like, ooh, I'm starting to like kind of like coach my clients a bit. And it's like I have this therapy background. Like I want to create like transformation, create change, and help people. So a year, I don't know, a couple of years later, I don't even know at this point, I was like, I also want to start coaching. And so then I added the coaching in for, at that time, virtual assistants, just growing their businesses, very general, right? So like, okay, like let's dive in, let's see what starts to feel good. And then so now I have like OBM coaching. Okay, we're doing these things, one-on-one monthly retainer. And then comes the next phase. And this next phase is the part that really lights me up because it was really driven by my own self-trust and my own intuition. Meaning that there was this week. So I'm doing all of these like collaboration calls and like coffee chats and connections and talking to people. And there was this week where one day somebody is saying something and it like, I get this like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like this like intuitive hit, like this like feeling of like, oh, like it sparked a thought in me, right? Like something is happening, like, oh, that's interesting. The very next day, I'm on this coffee chat, on this connection call, and this coach has said to me, like, I really see you not as like in the day to day, but really in this like like this higher level role. And this was so in line with what happened the day before that it sparked like another thing sparked. And I was like, okay, like my intuition is telling me something. I need to listen to it and I need to like sit with this and see how it's feeling. So I did. This was like a Thursday. So I sat with it through the weekend. I was like, okay, like what should I do? Like this is sparking something, something is happening. And I had a call with a fellow OBM who is a good friend of mine on the Monday and discussing this and like maybe I need some help in my business, my OBM business, so then I can step into this higher role. And we decide to partner. On that call, on that Monday, this happens on Wednesday and Thursday. On that Monday, we decided to partner and I restructured my entire OBM business. I didn't burn it to the ground like I did before. I took my intuition and self-trust and stepped into this other role where then I get to do the piece of the OBM, the OBM part, like the OBM piece that lights me up. I get to do that. And she gets to do the piece that lights her up, and they're complementary to each other. So like, how amazing is this? We get a client 2 weeks after we launch because it's all in alignment, right? Because it's intentional, because it's in alignment, because I listened, I've been doing the work, right? The inner work. I've been building up these muscles and I know how to listen to my intuition and I know how to like tap into that. And it led me down that road. And then shortly after that, I'm going back and forth. I had this other offer. So I'm doing like the coaching side, right? So of my like VAs and I like altered, I have a group program that was really good, but it wasn't quite there. And the reason I knew that it wasn't quite aligned was because it was really hard for me to like come up with a messaging for it. Like it felt heavy. It's like, I don't know what to say about this program. I know it gets good results. I know I like it, but it was like, like it was like, felt just a little bit heavy. So once I like all of these pieces were kind of falling into place, like the scaling, the growth of this, the alignment, like all of these things. And then they kind of came together in this puzzle. And then this is what led me to like, all of a sudden, like, wait, and I got this other hit on my coaching side that is like, no, like, I don't necessarily want to, like, my magic is not necessarily in like the shorter program that's like foundational. It's really in the scaling piece. It's in the deeper transformation, in the deeper dive. So in this way, I've been creating a new program that I'm so excited to launch and feel so aligned. And the messaging is coming and coming. And, all the things like flowed so easily because it is like where I'm supposed to be. So like the lesson is, or like what I want people to take from the story is a lot of things, but I think is interesting. But like a main thing is that you don't have to burn everything to the ground if you are able to be in touch with yourself and trust yourself and be able to listen to your intuition and have that guide you. You can start tweaking things. It's like making these small changes so that way it's doing what you love and that you're so excited about. So this is where
I
we're
love
at
that.
now. This is the journey.
I love it. Now, tell me a little bit about what was the biggest hurdle in your scaling journey or just your journey in general? Like you've obviously come so far from quitting your full-time job, to becoming a VA and now doing all of the things that you're doing. So what would you say is your biggest hurdle in all of this? Maybe someone could take from and can appreciate.
I think there's there's a couple of things, but one main one big one that comes to mind is that a lot of, if you're in this online space, you see a lot of things. You see a lot of people doing the same things and you feel like this is the way that I have to do it, right? Like this is the way I have to run my business. This is how I should do these things because you're seeing a lot of the same things over and over again. And when I was a VA and I went into this agency, it was like, well, that's the only choice. Like that is what you do, right? Like this is the path. And it took some exploration, really it took exploration within myself to be like, well, wait, hold on. And like some more deeper understanding, deeper work, like really thinking about it. And it's like, is that the path? Like there are infinite possibilities and there's not one way to do anything. Every way works. And the second piece of that is like, okay, here's the hurdle of I think I should, like, I should, have to, like, follow these rules, quote unquote. And then the other side of that is in order to not follow the rules, in order to forge your own path, you really, really need to be doing, like I talk about this, I've been saying inner work, and this, you really need to build up this confidence within yourself. You need to be able to trust yourself. You need to be able to listen to what you want and recognize it and be able to follow that. So it's really like complementary, right? It's the how can I do what I actually want to do, have the courage to do that, and the belief like that I can do this. So this has been a really big, like that's kind of the big growth part.
Yeah. And I feel like you really focus a lot on that with your coaching,
Hmm.
is that growth part and like really thinking outside the box and really focusing on like what do you want to do, what brings you joy, and not just like settling and doing what everyone else does because there's a lot of VAs out there. There's a lot of OBMs out
Hmm.
there. But it's like how do you set yourself uh apart or aside from those? And I feel like you really focus a lot on that. And I've learned a ton from you. So um awesome. So um what would you say is your top scaling tip you learned on your journey that you want to share with everyone?
Work backwards. What does that mean? So what's the top scaling tip? A lot of people like, okay, I can make more money this way. I can do that. I can do that. And they kind of ignore the reason that they started this business in the first place. So for this, I like to work backwards and say, okay, what is my dream life? How do I actually, like, what am I aiming for? What are my goals? And is my business supporting that? So, for instance, let's say that if my business is set up where I'm on calls all the time, but I actually like in my vision of my dream life is that I want to be really flexible. My business is not supporting that as a very simple, right? Like example. So it's really work backwards and really figure out, and this is a framework that I work with in my coaching is really like, let's start at the end. So what do I want to envision? Like, what do I want to do? What am I amazing at? Where does my magic lie? Where is my wizardry? Like, where do I like what lights me up so much? And like really dive in deep and do these exploration exercises to figure this out. And from there is where you create your business, where you create your offers, where not just your offers, how you launch your offers too. So like how you're marketing them, like every piece of your business really needs to be in alignment and intentional. So, for example, for this program, this coaching program, um, the scaling coaching program that I'm doing, I gave myself months to prepare for it, to nurture my audience, to create some freebies, to create like the most beautiful, sequence. And I'm launching it in a way that feels good for me and is not the typical way that I was told, quote unquote, that, okay, like let's have a free masterclass and then you pitch your thing and et cetera, et cetera. Like I tried it. My energy is not there. So it's like every piece of my business is intentional and like really supportive of my strengths, of my energy, of where I do the best. So this is the tip that I have is one, work backwards from your dream life and your magic and create the next level of your business from that place, from this place of alignment and intentionality. And this is where things get sustainable, right? Like this is where you get a business that you love and that you can't wait to do every day because you're so excited to like go and talk about it and share about it and that's magnetic and like everything falls into place from there.
So true. Oh, I love that so much. And it's such a important reminder to people who are either starting up or they're in their
Mm.
business and maybe they're not 100% happy. It's like, what are we missing? What is misaligned in all of this? So I really love that. It's a really great reminder.
And I want
Um,
to turn it back. No, I'm going to interrupt you because I want to turn it back on you. So,
sure.
haha, surprise, surprise. So
Ooh,
you've been a VA for a hot minute. And what have you learned in your business? What has been a tip that you have? Like, what's a struggle, a hurdle, and a tip that you have? And I didn't tell her that we were doing this beforehand. So we'll see what happens.
this is, you know what? Um, Not to take every single client that comes to you. I
Mm,
think that when you are starting off, you are so excited, you're so eager, how can I do this? How can I make this super profitable and make all this money and serve all these amazing clients? And I've learned the hard way, not many times, but one or two, that you can't just say yes to everyone. That I think
mhm,
it's really important when you meet these clients that it's like, are we aligned? Do I want to do this work? And not to
mhm,
just jump on it because it's another opportunity. It's like to really be intentional and make sure that there is that alignment because you're going to be working with this person a lot, depending
mhm,
on what you're offering in terms of like support hours and things like that or projects. um, so I think it's like really important. And I've learned now, I started my business in 2020, but was doing, like VA level freelance sort of work prior to that for many, many, many years. And it was like, um, starting and meeting you. So Andrea was one of the first people that I met when didn't even have my LLC. And
I
so
didn't know
I've learned,
that. Didn't know
yes,
I was there at the start.
yes,
Oh, I
you
feel so
were. You were there
special.
at the start. Yes. So I have to include that because I've learned so much through coaching with you and just supporting you as your VA. So yeah, I feel like that's like the biggest thing is like don't say yes to everything. Really,
Mhm,
the whole thing behind my business is like to be thoughtful with the things that we're doing and the way we're doing things. And so it's like really be thoughtful about who you're committing to and who you want to spend your time with supporting and making sure that you're really aligned. Yeah. So I think that would be like the biggest like hurdle and the biggest thing that I've like learned in all my years of now having my own business.
and to play off of that, I just had a conversation. I've had this conversation a couple of times recently with some coaching clients where, in addition to not taking on these people, there also comes a point where you inevitably outgrow your clients. So and it's like, oh, do I let these clients go? Like, what do I do? Where the work becomes not something that you enjoy anymore because now you've up leveled, now you found out, something different. Now you're working on this other thing. And I was referring to this with a client just yesterday, and we were talking about it being her emotional support client, right? Because this is like somebody she had been with for like, it's really like years. And I was like, oh, like now I'm like dreading doing this work and it's not feeling good anymore. And she's, of course, she's scaling and up leveling her business. And it's like, oh, like now she's doing something else that's better for her and more better fit and more aligned and more exciting. So there comes that time where it's a natural transition and you feel bad,
Yes.
but what I say is that you're not to feel bad because you're not what you really want, right? As a service provider is to provide support. And if you're not happy in what you're doing, you're not providing the best level of support. So it's actually in the end better for that person's business to have somebody who's excited in that role, right? And like who wants to do it and who's going to give it their all.
I love that you brought this up. So I'm going through this right now, and it was a bit
Wait,
of
is
a
it with
tough
me?
decision.
Is it with me?
No. Yes, this is how we end the podcast. And I'm no longer supporting you after how many years? No, I had a client and I felt like it was sort of like fizzling out. I knew that I was doing a really great job. I felt it. I knew that like the processes that I set up and everything was like, it was great. But I knew that they needed someone more. It was only 20 hours a month, whatever, whatever. I'm not going to get into all of the nitty gritty, but it was something that needed to happen. And it's amazing that when I let them know, they came back with a counter offer begging me to
Mm,
stay. And I
mm,
knew in my heart and in my intuition and all of that, that I needed to release this. I needed to release it. And I did. And guess what? Another client came and said, "Hey, I would really love to take those hours that you just released." And it's amazing. And I think that's something that is important to share also with people that do what we do, is like to not be afraid to let go of, say, things that are
your emotional
unaligned,
support clients, you're
emotional support
unaligned. Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
Let them go. It's okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that it's like scary to do that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's your business. But in my experience, whenever I have let go, something even better has presented itself.
Yeah.
And so it's like trusting that process, but it's scary. And especially when you're first starting out, you lose that first client and you're like, ooh, what am I going to do now? But it always works out. And so I love that. I love the emotional support client releasing of those, because I think it's really, really important. And I think it's something that people don't talk about very often, because
Mm-hmm.
it's uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm. It is
Letting people know that
uncomfortable.
it
Yeah.
is.
And I had a thought, and I lost the thought. The yeah, so like it's like your stop. So when you make this decision, it's really showing the universe that you're trusting yourself, right? So when you're like, okay, this doesn't feel aligned, I am going to trust myself, and I have the confidence to do that, and I have the belief, and I don't feel like I'm in scarcity. I have this abundant mindset, and I know that it's going to work out. It's going to work out better. And I hear this, and it's happened to me. I hear it over and over again that what it's so true. This I remember back when I was a VA, and I was a VA like in an agency for some clients, and I had this one client who I was making the really silly mistakes at that time, like things that are really really silly because it wasn't something I wanted to be doing. And he was a very nice guy, and it just like I wasn't aligned with him, and I was really scared. It took me like a month or two to like it was the first client I was letting go of. It took me a long time to get up to like, okay, let me actually do this. And and I was like, oh, I was also going to Bali, like a few weeks later, and I was like, is this the time to let go of a client? I need the money, whatever. So okay, so I did. What happens while I'm in Bali? Another client appears and reaches out to me. And this happens all the time, right? So really
I
it's this development of the self-trust that is so important in order to grow and your business and yourself. And they go hand in hand.
I remember we touched on this a ton in one of your programs that I was lucky enough to be a part of last summer. And two of the clients that I was working with, I knew needed to be released. It was like it fizzled out, the one.
Mhm.
Um, and, the other one was just like not a great match. And, now it's like fast forward, we're a year later. Like I've I've never been in such a good place as that I'm in now in my business. And it's like you need to trust, and just know that your body is like telling you what you should be doing. And so I love that. But yeah, I remember us talking a lot about that. And like that really was like a really great guide for me to make the decisions that I need within my business. So amazing.
Yeah. Yes. And all
So
of this, just a side note, all of this are things that I
yeah.
do, like no matter what program I'm running, like this is all so important to me, all this inner work, all this building the confidence and the self-trust and all the intuition. So this is infused in everything that I do because it is such a key piece. So it's really about the alignment, the intentionality, and the embodiment and the self-trust and all of that is all like these are the key pieces. It's not the it's not like this is the right way to do it. No. It's about like the inner stuff and the deeper things that are going to get you there to that next level.
Yep, so true. Um, so please let us know how we can stay in touch with you, Andrea, and if you have any gifts that you'd like to share.
Well, you can hang out with me on this podcast, continue to come around. Everything, yeah. So you all know this is all in, well, maybe you don't, but it's all in the show notes for all of the episodes that I have. Hang out with me on Instagram at Soulful Biz Coach Andrea. This is where I am on all the things, but that's where I like to play the most. And I have a couple of really cool scaling resources. If this really got you excited, you will not want to miss these resources. At dancingleafsolutions.com/resources. So I would love for you guys to go check those out and let me know. Come on Instagram and tell me how you found them. Oh, I guess it's my turn
Wait,
now, right? Because you're like, wait, I ended that.
I'm like, I mean,
You're like, that's
I
it.
can keep going.
So funny.
Totally keep going.
Thank you so much, Christina, for coming on and interviewing me and taking over the host role. I had a lot of fun chatting, and I hope that you did too. And why don't you share also where people can find you and hang out with?
Oh, thank you. This was a lot more fun than I was anticipating to be. So you can find me, my website is thoughtfullyconsulted.com, and I too like to play on Instagram. So you can find me there with my VA rambles, just things that I like to ramble about. It's just at thoughtfully consulted. So love the follow,
Awesome.
love to connect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.